There's nothing like a good ghost story, right? But it's strange that nobody really talks about prison hauntings. We've heard stories centered around schools, hospitals, the wilderness, and even hotels. But there aren't too many paranormal stories relating to prisons. Well, that's about to change. Today, that's what we're going to talk about here. Here are 5 of the most haunted prisons in the United States.
5.
Alcatraz Island. Okay, let's get the obvious one out of the way. Alcatraz Prison is definitely one of the darkest prisons to ever exist in the United States. If you've ever been there for the tour, you know what a cold and creepy place it is. But did you know that it's still home to one of the world's most infamous gangsters? Of course, we're talking about old Scarface himself, Al Capone. Capone is most famous for bootlegging booze in Chicago during the Prohibition years. In late 1926, Capone arrived at the Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, a maximum high-security prison located a mile off the coast of San Francisco, California. While there, he suffered from a series of mental conditions and breakdowns and was said to have been nearly incoherent towards the end of his life. It's been well noted that during his tenure in Alcatraz, Capone joined the prison band as a banjo player. Because he was too worried about going into the prison yard, he was allowed to practice in the prison showers and reportedly spent most of his time there. At night, he was constantly kept up by what he believed to be ghosts of his past rivals. This tormented him and made him paranoid up until the last moments of his life. It's been said that to this day you can still hear him playing the banjo at night in the prison showers.
4.
Ohio State Reformatory. Ohio State Reformatory is infamous when it comes to hauntings. The prison first opened in 1896 and was said to house around 155,000 inmates. How crazy is that? All we know is we wouldn't have wanted to be there during a prison riot, that's for sure. Anyway, the prison eventually closed its doors 109 years later in 1990. The main reason for this prison's creation was to reform those not deemed hardened enough for the Ohio Penitentiary. Essentially, it was the kindergarten version of prison. Over the years after it opened, prison overcrowding caused hardened criminals to be housed there anyway. So, in a way, no one was really that safe. And as if the overcrowding wasn't bad enough, there was a prison riot in the 1930s that resulted in 120 prisoners being forced to share 12 of the 20 supposed solitary confinement cells that were collectively known as the Hole, and it's now one of the locations at the site where haunting activity has been reported. Another is the administrative wing, where Warden Arthur Glatke and his wife Helen lived. In 1950, when Helen was reaching up to grab something off of a shelf, a handgun on one of the lower shelves somehow discharged. She was hit in the chest and passed away 3 days later. After Arthur passed away some time later, Molly Cabrera, the Ohio State Reformatory Program Coordinator, said they believe Helen and Arthur are attached to the building because it's where they raised their family, although the children moved out following their high school graduations.
3.
Eastern State Penitentiary. Now we have what is said to be the most haunted location in America, Eastern State Penitentiary, located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This prison opened up back in 1829, and it abandoned corporal punishment in favor of isolation, intended to invoke penitence, thus the name Penitentiary. Eventually, like a lot of prisons that had opened up back in the 19th and early 20th century, it closed its doors in 1971. After its closure, the prison was converted into a historic site and opened its doors up to the public in 1994. Like most buildings of this age and type, it has some dark history lying within its cold concrete walls. But what exactly makes this prison so haunted? Although there aren't really any noteworthy historical stories that have ties to the paranormal, that doesn't mean that there haven't been any paranormal happenings on the grounds. Over the years, crackling disembodied voices have been heard in cell block 12. Shadowy figures have been reported in cell block 6, and in the early 1990s, ghost witness Gary Johnson reported being gripped by a malevolent force and seeing tormented faces appear on the cell walls.
2.
Wyoming Territorial Prison. Located in Laramie, Wyoming, this prison was constructed in 1872 and only operated for a mere 18 years before closing its doors after Wyoming became a state in 1890. And by closing its doors, we mean for all of about 5 minutes before being converted to the Wyoming State Penitentiary. The prison reopened and operated for only 13 years this time before closing its doors yet again in 1903, when the inmates were transferred to the Wyoming Frontier Prison in Rawlins. The Wyoming State Penitentiary was home to several notorious outlaws, including Clark the Kid Pelton and most notably Butch Cassidy. But what's so paranormal about this prison? Well, as it turns out, it's haunted by the ghost of inmate Julius Greenwald, who passed away in 1901 due to heart failure. Greenwald was popular among his fellow inmates, as he was known throughout the entire prison for making cigars for his fellow inmates. It's said the strong, fresh smell of tobacco can still be detected wafting from Greenwald's old cell.
1.
Lake County Jail, Crown Point, Indiana. Here we have another prison closely linked to a famous Prohibition gangster. The Lake County Jail, located in the county seat of Crown Point, first opened its doors in 1908 and expanded in size about 20 years later. It was during this time period that county sheriffs were required to live at the prison, so all the facilities needed for its purpose as a law enforcement institution were included. It had it all. Within the prison grounds, there was a family living area, a warden's residence, around 150 cells, maximum security accommodations, kitchens, food storage, an on-site first aid office, a garage, department offices, and even a barber shop. Might as well drop a shopping mall in there while you're at it. Anyway, this prison was considered to be one of the finest institutions in Indiana. On top of all this, the Lake County Jail was deemed to be the most escape-proof prison in the entire county. Well, that is until John Dillinger proved them wrong on March 3, 1934. Dillinger made a daring escape that gave the jail its continuing infamy. The jail remained in operation until the 1970s, when it became a historic site. As restoration has continued over the last 2 decades, stories have emerged about hauntings at the jail. Apparitions have been reported being seen in cells and corridors. Strange photographs have been taken. Doors opening and closing by themselves, lights turning on and off, and disembodied footsteps and voices have often been reported by volunteers and visitors alike. And that's our list. Did we leave any out that you know about? Let us know in the comments section below. Please remember to subscribe and tap the bell button to be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.